Hi guys, Dodie here from Lee and Wild Designs, the owner of Lee and Wild Designs. And I wanted to come on here today since I was working on this piece and some experience I've had and some feedback I have been getting from people, which involves number one, metallics, and how sometimes when you brush on metallics, because it's a metallic, it might show lines when you brush it on. So I wanted to address that. Two, blending with wax, or I'm sorry, shading with wax. So since I was doing both, I would just kind of go over in general a little bit about both of them and how I kind of do both and help with the line. So sometimes if I'm doing metallics, which I don't do often, but if I do, I usually spray, even though it's not a whole piece and I'm just doing part. You can spray, you can use a small airbrush sprayer if you only have small pieces, or you can brush it on. But the thing about brushing it on, it depends on what you're looking for or what look you're going for. It could give off, because it's metallics, you might see the lines in the piece. So I'm not sure if you can see on here, but I can tell you what I did that does help that, first of all. So what I did was I actually used so let me start. On the base coat, I used a 1 hour enamel paint from Wise Owl. I love that paint, and it cures in 1 hour. It's a great cabinet and furniture for paint, although I love spraying it. It's a beautiful paint to spray on. So this is a base coat of that. It's a mix of two colors. So whenever I spray this, because it has a top coat, it doesn't feel chalky and it doesn't feel matte. It has a smooth texture. So that works in our benefit when we're waxing, because when you're waxing, you want to have a smooth texture. That way, if you're blending or however you're putting it on, the application is actually smooth and just flawless. Number two, the finish I have on here, whenever I do seal it, it's just going to be an extra top coat. So it's an extra step that I do not have to do before I wax. And so I want to show you that when I brushed the metallics on, I used the Silver Bullet by Dixie Belle and Steel Magnolias as well. So when I brushed on the Steel Magnolias, I find that it was a little bit more, not quite exactly what I was looking for. So instead of blending two metallics, what I decided to do was I put on the Steel Magnolias and I went and dry brushed the Steel Magnolias, and then I went back and dry brushed. I used a brush like this, and what I do when I dry brush it on, this helps from the lines. It kind of smooths out the lines from the Steel Magnolias. So when I dry brushed, I used the tip edge of the, brush and just slowly brushed on top of it. And that helps smooth out some of the lines that it does show. Now it still does show some of the lines, but it gives a highlight effect and dimension to the two metallics that I used. Now you still may get some more demarcations, and I definitely don't want to leave them like that. So if I still have some lines of demarcation, as you can see, let me see if I can bring this closer. I don't know if you can see it, but I still have some line right here. So one thing I can do, because I don't think I went back over this with the Steel Magnolias, the Silver Bullet, is I can go and dry brush and just barely touch this area right here. Or I can actually go back in my wax and shade it with my wax. So since I am going to be waxing and giving more of a shading effect like I did right here, see, I shaded here. You can see the difference between here and here, that I did more shading. So since I did go over wax here, I can go over with the wax here if I have anything that I don't like the way it looks, or I can go back with my dry brush and use the Steel Magnolias, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm gonna use the cap after I shake it and use very little on here. Sometimes I might load off on the a paper towel, or I might use my hand. And I'm just gonna go over it. Make sure your brush is dry. My brush isn't dry, but I wanted to kind of show you how light the application was for it as well. So, but you can see the difference on how the wax and the shading does compared to this side. I'm going to be doing this as well, so it won't like jump out to you so much, but you can see where I put the wax here. I kind of tipped the wax off the edges here, and I probably do that here. I went around the edges here. So that helps, so you don't see just metallics and any lines in the metallics. That helps. And of course, like I said, if you highlight using 2 different color metallics and you highlight on top of the other metallics with a dry brush technique, that really helps polish it off as well. So while I'm here, I want to show you the way that I actually shade with my wax. So when I started, look at my brushes that I dropped. So when I started doing shading as a makeup artist, I love shading, I love blending, I love mixing color. In fact, that's how I started, is mixing color. And when I mix color, I did better with not measuring, so to speak, in actual measuring, but I always measure with my eye, and I've always done that. So that's how I've always done it. So whenever I shaded, there was something and highlighted and gave dimension. It's something I love doing with makeup. So I decided that's probably my technique and my best technique to start with, and that's what I wanted to start with paint. So I started with wax because wax was the closest thing to a makeup application, because it's creamy, like the liquid or a powder that we use to put on our face. So that's how I started, and I found it was the easiest, and I really, really love the look of this. And you don't have to just go on white. Wax is beautiful. If you want a jewel tone color like a green or a deep color, and you use a deeper wax in the creases, it really just makes the whole piece look so different. It's not like you just painting one color on it. It really gives that depth and dimension and richness to the piece. It adds like a story behind the piece when you just add that little bit more to a piece that you're painting. So it started coming to life with me with this piece, with this headboard, as I went on. And what she told me that she kind of wanted, she was a little bit extra, and she wanted, you know, she has a lot of silver and she wanted metallic. So instead of just putting some silver on her bed, I really wanted to add some character and tell a story with this piece. So that's when I added the wax. So these brushes, I'm gonna go over real quick with the brushes. This brush is one of my favorite brushes. It's really tight, it's short, it's stiff, and it's small. That's gonna give you a tighter line. It's gonna go in the creases a lot more. So if you want a softer line, you can also go with this. And I actually started with this, but some of my tighter creases, I use this brush right here. But actually, what you can do, and if you use 2 brushes, you can actually create more depth and give an illusion when you're looking at a piece that you want it a little more deep here, but you want it lighter here. And you can do that just by using different brushes. So this is a tighter brush. This is gonna be another good brush. This is probably one of your staples you should have to go in the creases. And if you go in the creases with the brush, and then you turn it at just a slight angle. So if you're going in the crease this way, but if you turn it just at a slight of an angle, it's gonna give you more coverage. So I'm gonna show you while we're here. So let me see if I can bring this up a bit. I don't know if you can see. So for example, right here, I'm gonna go in the crease, add more, and I'll also show you how to take away if you need to. Okay. Now I can go and I can shade it using this brush. You definitely want to get a pointer brush right here. See how it's dome and it's the top is pointed? a little bit, that's what you want to go back and shade it. So since I already have some wax on here from shading, depending on how dark and how lighter you want the shade, you can just go with that tighter point brush. If you want a little more, you can take this brush, instead of just going into the crease right here, you can turn it just at a slight angle and it'll give you more wax in that area on that flat part, okay? More of that coverage. Now I can use this brush to go in the crease, or I can use this tight one right here. And really, if you want to leave some wax in that crease like that, you would use this brush. And if you want it deeper right here and gradually go lighter, you would use that brush and then go in and blend. And it's okay if you get wax on this area, because that's the look I'm going for. I want it a little bit of, I don't want to say age, but a little more authentic. I think wax gives an authentic look to the piece, more of an organic look to the piece. So if that shading is just not quite what you want, because for me it's not, and if you feel like it has a demarcation stopping point, go in circles with your brush and say, oh my gosh, it's just too much wax. You take a paper towel, okay? Probably need to change our towels. Take a paper towel, right after you do it, and you go back and just wipe. And you can also use a wipey. So say enough is not coming off, you can also go back and use a wipey to wipe that off. Go light with a wipey, that way you have more control and it comes off only what you want to come off with, the wax with. So that is an example of shading with wax. Now I will tell you, I will tell you as well, this wax that I'm using is from Dixie Belle, and it is a water-based wax. So you have a little bit more play with it. If you new to using wax, but you're too scared, don't be scared of this, because you can put paint over it. You can put paint over it. You can erase it a little bit better, a little bit easier. It dries faster. Because like this, for example, this piece right here, I wasn't sure if I wanted to paint it with the metallics and then do the wax or wax first. So the footboard, I actually waxed first and then I did the metallics. But it just gives me an example of what I want to do now. I wanted to do the wax after, that way, because the footboard, I probably want to go back and add more wax, because the metallics, to balance out the metallics in the piece. So it's really all up to you and what you want it to look like, how you want it to sit on your piece, what story you want to tell with your piece. There's so much different ways you can do waxing. Now this is a gray wax, you have black wax. Black would probably be fine with it too, depending on how much more you're doing on the piece. She has more silver and neutral tones, and so I wanted to do more of gray. And I didn't want to just do a silver metallic, but I did want to incorporate that with other metallics, which is the most popular, which is the Steel Magnolias. It's a champagne gold. So that really, I think, will look good with her bedroom. So if you have any questions, guys, please let me know. I can give you examples. If you do have a different paint that you're using, and it's more of a chalk-based paint, and it's matte or flat or chalky, you definitely want to seal before you do any waxing. That way you have more control over it. It's smoother. And it does what you want it to do. So if you have any questions, guys, please let me know. I just wanted to hop on here and give y'all an example of using metallics and waxes. All right, thanks. Bye.